Today, I'm going to be showing you a really exciting but ancient technique that will help you to save on water, reduce time on watering in the garden, and in particular, in this example, show you how to fill in your empty gaps in your late summer vegetable beds with new seedlings without having to worry about watering as much. This is a technique that is really great in arid climates, but also if you're experiencing a drought or you just would like to have an easy resource for watering plants on the go. Whew, it's just the morning and already I can feel the heat. It's not rained here in almost 2 weeks again. And we're supposed to get a little bit of rain on Monday, but I wouldn't be counting on it. Now, these beds have been slowly emptying of some of the crops, including this bed. It had a lot of lettuces in. And although these are no dig and have a good layer of compost on top, if you reach down, you can feel that it's quite a bit dry at the top. There is moisture down below, and that's fine for established plants, but if you are sowing seeds or putting in new seedlings, they're gonna really struggle. You're gonna have to water them a lot. I'm not a big fan of watering the actual garden, and I've been very spoiled. Here in Britain, you can tend to rely on getting a rain at least once a week, if not every few days, even in the summer. And so this is something that's new to me. You may have come across me introducing Ollas in a previous video. And I mainly use these inside the greenhouse to keep my tomatoes watered. And it's a really, really good technique. You don't have to worry about tomatoes and other plants just all of a sudden being zapped of water in the planters, and these will self-water as long as they're filled with water. Now, I've been quite spoiled living in the British climate. I've never had to use these outdoors, although these have been used for probably millennia in outdoor situations, in arid places where there isn't a lot of rainfall in the summer. And these help to keep crops watered, productive, and to reduce the amount of water that you need to put in the ground to keep them hydrated. The way that it works is that terracotta is porous. That means that it has big pores, even though you can't see them in the material. And as long as the pot is unglazed, water can travel from the inside of the pot out. It doesn't travel very far, but it travels enough that plants take notice and they'll grow their roots up to the pot, latch on and drink. These are two of my Ollas. Now, olla, all that means is pot in some Latin languages, including Latin. And we use it in English to describe these types of self-watering pots. They're very, very easy to make. The lids of mine are just plastic plant saucers, and you can get these at most garden centers, DIY shops. Plastic is best because it limits the amount of evaporation from the top when used as a lid. The pot itself is unglazed terracotta. These are just ordinary plant pots, really good size. And you need to have unglazed, so no paint, no glaze on the outside, because terracotta will wick water from the inside out. But if there's paint or glaze on the outside, then the water will not come through the material. And it does seem a little bit incredible, but yes, if you fill these pots with water, the outside will get moist and the water will eventually travel outside. Now, the amount of distance, or the distance it travels, is relatively small. So we're talking about right around the pot. And so what ends up happening is either you have a large plant, say planted here, it will grow its roots towards the pot and latch onto the side, and then the roots drink directly from this reservoir of water. If you have lots of smaller plants, you need to have them a little bit closer because their root systems are not as big. And also you need to give them proper spacing so that each plant has its own space to grow. These pots come with a hole at the bottom for drainage for plants, but that doesn't really help us with creating Ollas out of them. So you do need to fill that hole. In this one, I've used a champagne cork, quite a bit larger than your standard cork, and it fits this hole perfectly and swells to fill in all the gaps. You can use other materials too, and I have a type of putty on this side, and I've even made them as a permanent Olla with cement on the bottom. But you don't have to do that. I think that a temporary solution is better. That way, if you want to change your mind and use these as plant pots in the future, it's easy to take the cork or the putty out. Now that we are in late summer, a lot of our veg beds are starting to empty of crops that we're harvesting and using and preserving. And if we keep on top of sowing seeds and starting off seedlings, and these are some that I've started in some modules, then we can keep the crops coming right through autumn. But as I said, it's been very, very dry. So I've been a little bit worried about putting some of these outside. And I have actually planted some recently, and they're just not doing as well without extra watering. So what I'm going to do today is a little bit sacrilegious, because I'm going to dig in my no-dig bed here. And I'm going to put in 2 Ollas, and I'm going to plant little seedlings around the edge. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a reservoir of water in this bed. That reservoir will slowly filter into the compost and soil around it and make sure that those seedlings do not dry out, which is so important. And then instead of having to come out and water them every single day, it's possible that I only have to do it every 3 to 5 days to come out here and put some water in. It just depends on how dry it is and how much moisture is being pulled into the soil around. Just have to see. When you're using Ollas, it can be a completely different amount of time, but it will always be less than having to water every single day. So to put these in the ground, I need to dig a hole first. No dig fans, look away quickly. I'm going to put an Olla here on the other side of these onions, and then I think I will put another one here where I'm standing. So 2 really close to one another. That will make it easier for me to water, and then I will show you how I put it into the ground and how I plant it up. I've got this first Olla set up, and there are 6 lettuce plants around it. And I've spaced the lettuce plants out a few inches apart. You tend to put them about 4 inches apart when you're doing rows, but I think 3 to 4 inches is fine around here. And then what will end up happening is that these plants will get bigger and bigger. They will start to cover and crowd the area even where the lid is. So you'll have to pop it up just slightly from the side and get in there with a watering can or potentially a hose if you don't have a hose pipe ban. Now, how does this work now? You've got to keep the pot filled with water, and these little lettuce seedlings will be able to benefit from that moister soil right around the edges there. And it also occurred to me that this will also protect those seedlings from being dug up by Maggie, who enjoys digging around in the garden, especially if I've just planted something. She won't be able to get to them as easily. To get this in the ground, first of all, I took those Ollas, those pots that I had sealed the bottoms of, and I first soaked them in water. You're going to start with a nice wet terracotta material. You'll have moisture inside, and it will slowly start to seep out into the surrounding soil. The way that it does seep is very, very gradually. It's not like there's a hole inside the pot itself and it streams out. It's just a gradual seeping out. And that's why it's so effective as a watering technique. Now, I put it into the ground so that there's a little bit of a lip just above, and that's really just to keep the soil from getting inside the pot. Although soil and getting a little bit of compost in there, it's not a big deal. You don't really want to put any kind of fertilizer, liquid fertilizer in here, because it will just cause an absolute mess inside the pot. You'll have algae, you'll have all kinds of critters in there, and trust me, you will attract some slugs with this as well. They will find a way to get inside. And so sometimes when you lift up the lid there, you'll find slugs on the top of your lid here, sometimes floating around in the water, and oftentimes they'll be stuck to the sides of the terracotta. They're not stupid. They're drawn to moisture as well. Plants and wildlife in your garden will know that this is a source of water and will make use out of it. And then all I need to do while these lettuce seedlings are growing is come out here, make sure that everything is secured. I might want to put a stone or a brick on top of this just to keep it from blowing away. And if it does get quite hot, I might consider putting a shade cloth over these seedlings. They have been in the greenhouse though up to this point, and it has been very bright and sunny in there. So I think they'll do okay out here as long as they have enough moisture to live. I've just dug another hole, and I think that'll do, maybe a little bit deeper for this next Oya. And then what I'm going to plant around this one is some perpetual spinach. And the spacing with those is going to be about the same. I think maybe I'll do 4 inches though, because those plants can get quite a bit larger. And I am probably going to avoid putting one directly adjacent to that little lettuce seedling, because you don't really want to crowd these plants. You want to give them lots of airflow as well as moisture. But I think that will do right there. And then I will continue the same process as I did with the first Oya and the plants around there. And I'll come out here tomorrow, have a look at the water levels, top it up. And if I'm happy with how things are going, I'll keep on a schedule where I'll only come out here a certain number of days just to have a peek and to make sure that these Oyas are filled and doing their jobs. Now, I have been doing this for years. I think my video on how to create DIY Oyas is from 2015. So because I've been using Oyas for so long, I know how they work, I know what to expect, and although this is the first time I've used them outdoors, I'm 100% sure that this will work, because people have been doing this for thousands of years. If you've got any questions about Oyas, how to use them, how to make them, go check out that video on how to make DIY Oyas. I have a second video showing how I use another type of product to seal the bottom. I'll put links to those down in the video description. And also, as always, leave any questions or comments down below and I'll have a look and get back to you. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your garden, and also let me know how things have been going, if you have a hose pipe ban on right now, or if you're going through a drought, and if you have any other really interesting and perhaps water frugal ideas to share with everyone else. I'll see you next week here on Lovely Greens. Bye for now.